Hello and welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We have Mr. Scott Garwood with us today, and we're talking about a very important topic of discussion. And this is something that I believe we've been delving into social and emotional learning for a while now, right? But we're going to get into what soft and leadership skills actually cater to, right? And how they help in building future careers as well, especially of our students. And with what TomoClub currently is doing, which and TomoClub is a game-based social emotional learning curriculum that caters to grades 3 to 12. So we're across the spectrum, and we're talking about how do we get students to engage in learning that enables them to apply it in their day-to-day lives. How do we get them to hone the different soft skills that they have and be able to apply them into different careers that they might have, right? And I'm really glad to have Mr. Scott here, who is a senior corporate strategist and an innovative thinker. And I believe that we have a lot to learn from Mr. Scott today. And I'm going to leave the ground open for you now, Mr. Scott, to take over. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join TomoClub in this conversation. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. It's something that I've done for the better part of 15, almost 20 years at the corporate level. And I think that when you come back, what I want to have happen over the next 30 minutes is a dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's a dialogue through my eyes and my ears of what truly has changed the game for key high potential talent. My perspective to you, though, is the lessons that I've learned, I think will be applicable to almost any situation, whether it's high school, college, corporate America, because what we really have noticed is, and this is going to hurt people's heads, is that we're asking people, hey, we need to prep you for what's coming. My position to everyone is we need to prep the leaders for what's coming. We need to prep the managers for what's coming. Because I think when you go look at my LinkedIn profile, you will see a test case in the features section that really drives home the message. There is a gap between what I would call traditional managers and leaders. And with AI, that gap is going to get bigger and bigger. Okay, so so Chelsea asked the question, hey, I love your background. Well, the background actually has a reason for today. And I think that the number one thing when I talk about managers and leaders or teachers, professors in corporate America, the important thing is we need to take a look at ourselves. Because here's the hard truth. If you don't have a continuous learning and development mindset, how can you expect the people you're teaching or leading to have that same kind of thirst? You have to have it yourself. So in my, I'll just tell you up front, in my 50s, I went back and learned how to drive race cars. That's my race car behind me. Why is that? Well, because it was certain things that I learned about high performance driving that I had no idea. I learned more in my first session than I had my previous 45 years of driving. Insane. Okay. I went back to Columbia Business School in my 50s and focused on a 4-year strategy program. Why did I do that? Well, because David Rogers and Rita McGrath taught me all about digital transformation. And then from a strategy perspective, seeing around corners, seeing over the horizon, learning and really absorbing that when people look at things, snow melts at the edge, but very few people look at the edge. They get looked at the beauty of a snowman or whatever. They don't realize that it actually melts at the edge. Well, if you don't have sensors at the edge, how do you think you're going to be able to react to competitive pressures, to other pressures that you feel? So coming back to the manager and leader mentality, right? The thing about a manager in traditional America, in corporate America especially, is they're all process oriented. They want the process, they want the output, It happened last week. It happened last month. They want it to happen on time. A leader is actually thinking about how I improve that process. What technologies, what capabilities can I bring to my team to truly make a difference? And so in my profile, we actually talk about how we used two key AI tools, not now, but 4 years ago, and how we incorporated that into the team to make everything go much, much faster. And you say, well, that's interesting. So Scott, why does velocity and experimentation really drive this idea about soft skills and leadership? I'll just give you a great example in my team. Okay. When we did competitive profiles, we would say we want to target company A, or we want to win this opportunity in this space. It would take an analyst anywhere from 24 to 36 hours of work to put together a profile of depth and quality that we needed to make decisions. Using AI, we can do that now in about an hour. So think about that. So here's the stack of how long it took. You would go to the Wall Street Journal, you would do Google search, you would look at the financial publications, the list would the SEC reports, the filings, et cetera, right? But with the key tools that we have in our toolbox now with the AI, that huge time is this much now. Okay, that's critical. So why is that important to me? Why is it important to me as far as the students of tomorrow coming into corporate America? Is that the area of work and our jobs are changing drastically. So where I was looking, we would always be up at crunch time to get a data package to our leadership team. Now that we can do it so much faster, the beauty of what that has done is that it's shrunk the time, and now that analysts can come out of a silo and think more strategically. Think of it this way. Instead of coming back to the table with, here is this opportunity, we've researched it, we know about it, and say it's taken 2 days to do it, or here's an opportunity or a target that we're looking at. That person now comes to the table with more time to ask questions like this. Well, if this is these are our competitors, if competitor A and competitor B were to team, how does that affect us? So it makes the conversation about the output insanely more valuable. In other words, it raises it up from a data to an information, now strategic considerations. And so my put to you is, if you think about the role of a traditional manager versus a leader, that gap is only going to get bigger by the companies that truly embrace AI, that truly want to take normality out of a routine and really add fire to the output. So if you think about that time shrinkage of 2 days to about an hour, now all of a sudden that analyst can be a strategic thinker. He or she looks at that through a lens of, what other things does that customer, the executive leader, need from me? Is it the complexity? Is it a partnership? Do we potentially acquire a company? That's fantastic. But here is where the cherry on top comes in, is that is good. But the idea now is that I, a decade ago, built an entire program inside my company that accelerated development of our high potential team members. The importance of what I'll call purposeful development of high potentials and learning how to accelerate their development using case study, but how we built the teams were really, really important. What we found over a period of time, and we've done this 12 years inside the company, 10 years at the corporation level. But the ability to take high potential talent and sort it in a way that you get fantastic build of capability and teamwork is critically important. And aligning talent to output is fantastic if it's done properly. One of the key things that we learn, and I'll just use finance and strategy as two disciplines, right? That our graduating class of FLDPs is inside the company was approximately 30 to 40 candidates per year. It's a 3-year program. They rotate through different assignments, different job rotations to learn different aspects of the business. But one of the key things in the capstone case is that we would rotate talent such that strong financial people were scattered on all 6 teams. Strong strategy people were scattered among each of the 6 teams. And what we found was iron sharpens iron, but it's not a competition. In other words, I don't have a team that has 2 insanely strong financial people. We disseminate that out. What does that do? What we found was over this time period is that it aligned the expectation of the team members, and they in effect became teachers unwittingly, because what they in effect with the cases were, they would bring their individual strengths, the other team members would bring their strengths, and what we found was the amount of learning inside the team was exponential. It was it has been so cool, because what you in effect had is that inside a team of about 6 or so people, the amount of learning was just off the chart. Now I say that, so here's where the AI and how we built the teams come in and mesh together. So in traditional, before AI tools, and you talked about soft skills, people would say, well, I need to really, being a really great team member, being a team is very important to us. Having a little bit of executive presence and communication, really important. But what I hope I've laid out for everyone is, with AI, now I raise the level up of key analysts, or in colleges and universities, the students, instead of a silo of finance or strategy or pricing and estimating, I raise those candidates up with quicker turns, and they're able now to be part of the decision-making process. They bring more content, more value to the table. So instead of just being a great team member and a little bit of executive presence and a little bit of resiliency, with AI and the combination of how we put our teams together, to me, the whole dynamic has changed. And now this, instead of what I would call tactical, we become much more strategic in our capabilities and what we're giving to the students, whether it's in corporate America or in universities or high schools. So the focus has totally changed. So now with AI, I have talent that has not just a little bit of executive presentation. They know how to put executive content together. They know how to brainstorm. They understand, they work with your teammates in a collaborative manner, and it's exponential, because now they can actually think about, do we partner with people before you get to the table? In other words, the leadership looks back down and says, well, this is fantastic work, and in traditional corporate America, fantastic work, but let's go another step. Now, and my point now is, this allows the analyst level of people to come to the table with much more of a strategic focus, right? Persuasion and influence is a really important skill. With AI, it actually becomes more important. And why is that? Because now that I've gone in accelerated velocity, to me, the really important piece here, and I call it the Scotch cherry on top, is that now I've got a team of people that are fantastic storytellers. The numbers are great. And I think that if we just think through the logic of what we have as our managers versus our leaders, right? We're all about, this is kind of what we've done in the past. And what I'm submitting to you is what we've done in the past, while may be great, AI is going to totally change that story. And it's going to enrich the candidates' lives. And it's actually going to make us as leaders really put the foot on the gas as far as accelerating change. Because think of it this way, those students, those analyst level people on each in corporate America can now come to the table with much more content. And it's not just a quote unquote number or a strategy. It's all of the above. And in effect, it tells the story. So we raise the level up of our talent from what I would call nuts and bolts type people to actually being strategic cogs in an organization that adds value, and then being able, and really great storytellers. Storytelling is so important, because if you're doing an investment, it's the story. As I told the students that in the MBA program at Macomb School of Business and at the University of Texas, in business case competition, great ideas, fantastic returns get killed every day. The question becomes, ask yourself this question: do good ideas get killed? The answer is yes. What differentiates between projects that get across the line and projects that don't, even though they all are above a cutoff line as far as potential return? And the ability to tell a story, how it aligns to your strategy, how it improves the operation, how it improves the output, is critically important. And I think that as someone has seen the internal workings of corporate America, what really is fascinating is the ability now of analysts to have the tools, analysts and students to have the tools to come to that table with a much, much higher degree of value than we had in the past. And my put to you, just as I opened up with, it's important that the leaders instill that sense of continuous learning and development in this track, because you can't, if you can't teach and you can't lead or you can't motivate, you're not going to be successful. Okay. And so it takes all of those things to get where you want to go. And I think that AI is giving us tools. The question is, how do you use them? And use them for the right reason and really drive change. So Chelsea, I hope that helps, and I'll open it up for any kind of questions or comments or anything.
Absolutely. I think one of the major things that I'm taking back right now is the understanding of having purposeful development for high potential, right?
Mhm.
And when we're talking about high potential, are we talking about just skills in individuals? Are we talking about resources that we can provide to individuals to upskill them? What is that? What would entail that development? What would entail the resources that provide that purposeful development?
Great question. I think it depends. I think one of the most important things as a leader is the most important thing as a leader is that you kind of craft a little bit of an individuality, because if you just try to rubber stamp, here's some talent, or here's a student, or here's whatever, and you say, well, I'm just going to have this, and this on everyone, you're going to miss out. So one of the most important things is the expectation of a leader when you come into the group or when you come into the class. Here are the key things that we're going to learn, and here's how we're going to do it. And all of you are at a different baseline, And I think it's incumbent on the leader to understand, having that conversation many times one-on-one, of where a person is on a variety of hard and soft skills. So it kind of goes back to that message that we look in the mirror, and the people that need to change is not necessarily the students or our analyst level people, individual contributors and companies. It's us.
Yeah.
We need to change because we need to ask the right questions and be able to tailor the development to get maximum benefit out of each person.
Yeah. And, as you mentioned, that what we had before and what we have right now is ever evolving, and it is always going to be ever evolving. Thank you, Miss Nancy, for being here. All right. So it is an ever evolving job market, and it's not just what's in your resume that matters at the end of the day, right? And
Right.
it's just what you've learned in college that matters, or not just what you've learned in school that matters, not in terms of just your hard skills, but it's also about a growth mindset that an individual might have, that they might hone over a period of time, based on the challenges that they might encounter, based on a bunch of different experiences that an individual might have. But how do we provide that in a school setup, or how do we provide that sort of growth mindset as they're building on to become individuals in this growing job market, right? An ever evolving job market.
Mhm.
Because, and as
Yeah.
you mentioned, AI is not. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think we ever start too early.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, because I think that with AI, we can become much more efficient
Mhm.
of and doing certain things. But to me, it all starts with the professor or the teacher at the high school and college level, uh, people like myself at the corporate level, and I think that we have to own a little bit of the process, and the process is, I have, if you think about it, I used my hands a while ago to talk about, kind of a manager mindset and a leader mindset. And I think that the other thing that's really important is, going forward, I think AI is going to, I said it's going to widen that gap. I think it's going to widen the gap because from the ability to attract, secure, and retain and develop talent is significantly going to increase with a leader mindset versus a manager mindset. And I think that leader manager mindset is at the school level too. Okay. I don't like I said, I think that what we're going to see is the ability to kind of craft individual development plans depending on how much time that student or contributor is part of that organization. In my group, we do it over 3 years. Okay. Um, if you think about from a high school or a college role, that's going to be less. But I think that if you do it smart and you have tailored focus areas, I think that can be just as successful. It just may be a smaller, but here's the thing: if you work together, if students and professors or teachers work together, they can in effect build over a year time, key things that a student accomplishes and have measurements. And I think that is so important as part of that development. And it's something that I've been focused on and have seen uh, the fruits of what I would call innovative thinking now for a better part of a decade.
Right. And I'd love to understand your perspective as well when you talk about leadership, and when you talk about a leadership mindset, and in comparison with a managerial mindset.
Mhm.
What are some skills, or what are some soft skills that you look forward to when we talk about leadership? I'm pretty sure you
Yeah.
must have hired a bunch of people over your long tenure, right? And or you must have worked with a bunch of people. And what is something that you look forward to make things work at the end of the day?
So there's, in the interview, there's two questions in probably the first 5 questions that we asked that are really telling. Okay. And it kind of gives us an insight of how this person operates. And we talk about so much of our resume is about success. So one of the opening questions that we ask is, talk to us about a key learning that you had on one of your least successful or a failed project. What did you learn? Well, what we're trying to assess is humility, resiliency, and then continuous learning and development. In other words, a manager mindset would be, well, I'm going to, how does this person fit with how this job is lined out? So, talk to me about your skills in, financial models, or talk to me about, your skills in strategy models from talk to me about how you did a competitor analysis, right? If you go up to a higher level, what I'm looking for is continuous learning and development, and not forced. In other words, I don't want to necessarily hear about you were selected into a program. I want to hear about you offering, or you on your own going into a program, or you going in and doing stuff unasked. Okay. So it's that initiative. It's the initiative to do things. The other thing that's really important, Chelsea, is a visionary. I love people that give back, because giving back into other organizations is, everybody's time is valuable. But if a person earlier in their career has figured out giving back is important, I want to talk to that person. I want to talk to that person that talks about how they did something different, or how they brought an initiative up to, their class, or their presentation team in graduate school. Okay. What I want is somebody that thinks differently. Really important.
Yeah, I think those are excellent. I mean, these are skills that we long for, right? Like even as we hire teachers, or we get teachers on board, or we're talking about students who are excelling in their academics, we're looking at how they're able to have that sort of resilience to keep moving forward while also taking initiative for different challenges that are thrown their way, and taking initiative to solve those different challenges, right?
Mhm.
And loved where you mentioned about being, searching for a visionary at the end of the day. Go ahead.
Absolutely, because if talent of candidate A
Yeah.
coming out of a university, and let's just say that they had a 4.0, okay, they had a excel in every class, but yet they didn't get out of their comfort zone. They didn't participate in it or give back to any other cause. They didn't talk about or demonstrate leadership. They may be a really good candidate, but the question is, are they going to have that exponential growth? It's one thing to be a good student, but what is it that we as instructors, professors, teachers can glean and see in people to accelerate their stickiness of, I want to make a difference. I want to be, I want to be a part of this club, or I want to do certain things in my community.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that teaches you is that person is demonstrating that they have a pretty good idea of how to prioritize their time. That's important too. Because if AI gives you back time, what are you going to do with it?
Right. And just wanted to add on, how do we, or at least question this particular thing? This is something that we want, but how do we as leaders, right? We all of us here at some point have taught students. We have parents who will be watching this later. We have educators who might be watching this. We have founders, co-founders who might be watching this later. What would you suggest we should you know add into the curriculum, or add into the learning process for a student to incur, or at least hone these different skills like resilience, or initiative taking, or being a visionary?
I, listen, I think I think one thing is challenge, have a class challenge. Who can come up with the a cool innovation? And be a solid. I mean, my put to you is there's no bad ideas. There's just ideas that maybe work better than others. But what you do as an instructor or a professor or a teacher, you unleash the creativity of that person. I'll give you a short story about myself and what I did over the past 10 years at the corporation level. The first case that I give the students that were part of this class is the feedback I tell them is, I don't want to see our company logo, our company format, our company template. I want total creativity of an answer. Think that you're pitching this to a private equity group in New York City or a venture capital company in Silicon Valley. I don't want you pitching it to me with a format. I want you to break that. I want you to think wider. And I think that that's one of the things that's important. I really want people to have the depth of talent, but I think AI is going to allow us to have that depth, but if we use it right, it will give back to the talented high school, college students, our early career professionals that, hey, I can do this, but now I have time to think about what's that innovative approach. And as long as I don't extinguish the fire as a leader or as a teacher, that I embrace what they come. And like I said, there's better and there's good. There's no bad and there's no stars, right? But my point would be, if you could integrate that innovative type thinking, I think that puts fire on everybody, because everyone will have an example. Or maybe you have an example and you say, now it's your turn. What do you guys, what's something that you think would be a really cool innovation? And maybe it's a demonstration, maybe it's a product they build, or maybe it's just a conversation. My put to you is unleash and unchain the thought process that we put on students and early career professionals.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Scott. We do have one question that was sent to us previously or before in hand.
Yeah.
How can we instill SEL skills in teens' e-learning design?
Soft skills and e-learning design. Well, so I think it's this. It goes. It's not just because I was talking about corporate America. I think the same thing applies into grade school, middle school, high school, college, and that is in e-learning. As a leader, do a little research, understand the team, or if you have maybe a bigger class, how you break it into smaller teams to really maximize learning, and then who is the right fit with each. So you purposely design the talent that's evenly distributed, and everyone has a voice. But then the point would be, then you raise that level, because what you want out of those teams is to build influencers. So we talk about the key things. My put to you, Chelsea, is that I really want the future generations to have fantastic persuasion and influencing skills.
Yep.
Because AI will give you time to work on that skill, and then be great storytellers, because every investment, every new idea, every innovation idea is a story.
Yep.
And if you tell the story right, you get everybody's buy-in.
Right. I completely agree. And I think, just building on to what you were mentioning earlier, getting them into groups which enable or, encourage them to put in their ideas, help them challenge themselves to achieve certain goals. It just pushes them out of their comfort zone, because at the end of the day, each individual is different. Each individual's idiosyncrasies might just be like, might just not be tolerable for everyone, right?
Mhm.
And
And
yeah,
that's the leader's role, because
exactly.
you want the teams to really fit well together. And as in that way, it's not a happenstance. It's not like, well, you're odd and you're even, so you're on
Yeah,
this team and you're this other team. No, no, no. Part of the leader's mentality has to be, I'm going to divide this group up into teams, and how do I change them into high performance teams?
right. Absolutely. Now, again, that's something that we've understood over the course of teaching in
Mhm.
different schools, and
Yeah,
the kind of groups that we already have. That's not always possible, but it is something that can definitely change a child's mindset. It can definitely bring about a change in the way the child starts interacting or even facing those different challenges. And that's
mhm.
something that I would love to point out. That's something that we also try to do at TomoClub, right? Like
Yeah.
students to talk to each other or be in a space where they are met with challenges which have to be countered together. It's not a one person it's not a one person fit at all, right?
I agree.
So, so yeah, and another thing that I would love to add, in terms of how we can add on to different things, or how we can enable SEL in teens e-learning. I think one thing that can definitely help would be reflective writing, right? Helping them to reflect over what their day has been like, what are some challenges that they're facing, and of course debriefing these different challenges, or debriefing their day to be the best possible potential heads that they can be, right?
Uh, Absolutely. Because if you think about the teams, and so you had the group and we broke into teams, you would want those members of those teams to feel comfortable. And so maybe you insert maybe a mentor into that role and help that mentor. Maybe is slightly, maybe a 1 or 2 years older or 3 or 4 years older, okay? But it's not seen as the teacher or the instructor or the professor. And it's that ability to get that information and then talk to the teacher, the corporate leader or whatever, about what's going on in that group. And if there's an issue, it doesn't fester.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think one more thing that I would love to add would be encouraging mindfulness, right?
Mhm.
Not just being mindful in action, but also being uh, able to ground yourself in times of trouble or in times of challenges that you might encounter. Instead of taking hasty decisions, take a step back, do a mindfulness or a grounding activity, like a 5 4 3 2 1 grounding technique, and then go forward with making a decision, right? So that's just those are just a few tips that we can help out with, or deliver here in this short while. But
Absolutely.
yeah, all right. So that was it from my end, Mr. Scott, and thank you so much for the insightful dialogue that we've had today. And I'm definitely taking back something that we're going to definitely try to inculcate in the students that we're also teaching.
Mhm.
You know, the phrase which says purposeful development for high potential.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think that's really important. I mean, how do you develop the talent for the future?
yeah, exactly. Right. At the end of the day, we're the ones guiding them to reach the end potential.
And so that goes back full circle, right, to what I said opening. Sometimes we look in the mirror and the people that need to change are us.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Scott. And thank you everyone for joining in. If you have any questions right away, the chat box is open. We're here for another 5 minutes. We're here to answer them.
Well, thank you so much, and best of luck with TomoClub. I followed you guys for a few years, and I look forward to really seeing the great things going forward.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Miss Saliha, for your kind words.
Super. All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.